Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the biggest nose, Jay-Z Courtside, coming at y'all today on November 20th. It's a Wednesday. Y'all I gotta try to get in the flow of things and say the day, date, and all that stuff. But y'all already know it's 9 a.m. Wednesday, and we got some NBA to cover. Wait, is today Wednesday or Thursday? Is today Thursday? Hold on. I think today might be... Is today Thursday? Yeah, today's Thursday. I'm sorry. Okay, so remind me about the days before I start this. In case you guys don't know, we do live stream these, so we do have some errors and some mistakes. I'm not going to just hit end recording and start it back up. So yeah, we are doing all of these episodes live on YouTube, on Twitch, on TikTok. Wherever y'all want to watch, we do it live. So be sure, if you guys want to catch this stuff live, to tune in to the Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, anywhere that your heart desires. We got some NBA stuff to cover today, y'all. Today's probably not going to be that long of an episode in comparison to yesterday. I think it was almost an hour long. We have some breakdowns, some stuff that I want to talk about that's moving around the league. And I want to talk a little bit more about the news that Shams broke a couple days ago. Before we get started, though, be sure to drop a like wherever you're watching, subscribe or follow wherever you're watching, and podcast listeners, be sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. And shout out to all the beautiful individuals watching live on Twitch. That's Jay-Z Uncut on Twitch. The link will be in the show notes on whatever platform you're watching. All right, guys, I say let's just get started and go with the first game of the night, the one that actually started first. And it was the Houston Rockets visiting Cleveland and just beating them. And I don't think that this one, the scoreboard doesn't do it justice because it wasn't that close. Now, in case you guys don't know, the Houston Rockets are second in points scored per game. They are first in rebounding per game, 8th in steals, 3rd in field goals made, 7th in field goal percentage, and they attempt the least amount of threes every single game across the league, but they have the highest three-point percentage across the league, the number one three-point percentage in the league. Now, if that tells you that they're taking good shots from deep, it's because they don't have really prolific shooters, so they're only taking them when they're open. And they are left open a lot when you have players like Kevin Durant and Alperen Şengün working in the low block or upper elbow. So this game didn't really have too many storylines other than the Houston Rockets leading by 22 and almost choking it away. My biggest thing about this game is that no matter how you look at it, right? The Cleveland Cavaliers lost. I hate using this term, but they lost this game more than they wanted. So I want to sort of start with the way that the Rockets were defending Donovan Mitchell. If you guys have watched any Cleveland Cavaliers game, each team is playing him different, right? And when you look at this team, they continue to rely on Donovan Mitchell. Now, I can tell you 100 times over that Evan Mobley has completely plateaued as a player, but I'm not going to tell you that. Wait, I just did. Evan Mobley being in Cleveland is not good for his career. It's not good because no matter what, this is going to be Donovan Mitchell's team. So if you look at their opposing team with the Houston Rockets, there's one trend that really follows. It's that, hey, Şengün can get it, Durant can get it. With the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's Mitchell's gonna get it, and if all else fails, give it to Mobley. And that's how their game plan works. Now, obviously, the Cleveland Cavaliers are without Darius Garland, Sam Merrill, and Max Strus. But in my honest opinion, you're seeing what's going to happen with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Seems like Darius Garland is always hurt. Okay. So it seems like he's always hurt. I feel like this is going to be an ongoing thing with his career, right? This is why I wanted them personally to trade them. So I see people in the Twitch chat saying Mobley doesn't need to be the first option. And this is why the Cavaliers are 10-6 and looking incredibly inconsistent. The only way this team can grow is if they utilize Mobley as not an option B or a second option. They need to use him as a 1B. So if Donovan Mitchell's your 1A, Evan Mobley needs to be your 1B. And all I need to do is point out the first 3 quarters of this game. Donovan Mitchell calls for a screen. Evan Mobley comes and sets it. Jared Allen comes and sets it. And then the opponents, Amen Thompson or Jabari Smith Jr., they hard hedge the screen and blitz him, sort of forcing him like 10 feet away from the 3-point line. And then Donovan Mitchell, too little too late, just sort of dumps the ball at whoever's open because he's not open. He's getting doubled at the top of the key. He ended up having 4 turnovers. And I think what was screaming at me through the screen was, am I watching the Pistons? Am I watching the Detroit Pistons or the Cleveland Cavaliers? So let me explain my thought process here. Last year when the Detroit Pistons had Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey, Cade wasn't getting doubled because they couldn't afford to leave Jaden Ivey open for a shot or open to drive into the lane. So when Cade would get that pick and roll, Cade is just rolling to the hoop with Duren, and it was an easy hoop every single time. Since the end of last season, and what the Knicks did for the Pistons, I got to give the New York Knicks, I'm getting off topic here, but I got to give the New York Knicks major credit here because they trained the Pistons into what every single team was going to start playing them like. Hard blitz that top of the key. Hard blitz each and every time. And double at the top. The Pistons learned from it. And when they get Jaden Ivey, they will succeed from it. Now, when you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, I promise everything I mentioned has a reason why. Without Darius Garland, they're sort of forced into the unfortunate circumstance that the Detroit Pistons have been in since January 1st of 2025. Without Darius Garland being there to prevent Donovan Mitchell from getting that doubled, that hard hedged blitz at the top of the key, Donovan Mitchell now is experiencing a defense he's never had to endure. That's why Donovan Mitchell only had 2 points going into the fourth quarter. In the fourth quarter, the Rockets mixed it up and it didn't work. Donovan Mitchell scored 19 points in the fourth quarter, which is absolutely insane. But he was also a minus 18 on the court and did not do anything. He did not facilitate. He did not set up shots for others. He was 3 for 9 from the field, or from the 3-point line, and 8 for 17 from the field. And he only drew 2 fouls all game. And Donovan Mitchell he's very prolific at drawing these fouls. So if he's not getting those foul calls, then you can just chalk it up as a loss. So when you look at this team and you see, I watched the entire fourth quarter of this game, right? And when you watch it, they went to Evan Mobley one time. What if I told you that Evan Mobley last season wasn't even cracking the top 100 players in the league at fourth quarter usage rates? What if I told you that this year he is still not top 100 in the league at overall usage rates in the fourth quarter? In fact, it's dropped. I think he's 114 right now as far as usage rates in the fourth quarter. Evan Mobley, the guy that people say they'd rather have over Cade Cunningham, does not touch the ball in the fourth quarter. I love what the TikTok chat just said. Garland is the guy who gets him involved and he's out. I love that TikTok chat actually is educated and knows ball. Donovan Mitchell, when he's the sole provider for this team, nobody else is touching it. Nobody else is touching this ball. It's Donovan Mitchell or it's a miss. And that's how they play. DeAndre Hunter had an incredible first half. I think he had like 18 of his 25 in the first half. He was 8 for 8 from the free throw line. And on top of that, Evan Mobley's free throw shooting has completely abandoned him on top of that. Donovan Mitchell has never been able to set up his bigs. You know, back when he had Rudy Gobert, I think part of the reason being that he's not able to set up his big man is because he played with a big man like Rudy Gobert that's not offensively strong. So when he sees this 5 and Jared Allen that's just good for dunks, he doesn't pass to him. And I got to be honest, Naquan Tomlin has been a lucky find for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't think that this team is much better if you insert Darius Garland, Max Strus. my biggest thing is if Darius Garland is in and out of this lineup, I think this team's just got to eventually move on from him and get used to not having him. Because right now, with Donovan Mitchell being the primary ball handler, he is not doing what I'm just going to use him as an example because the Rockets defended him the same way that they defend Cade Cunningham. Cade he's been used to these hard blitzes on the top of the key. Donovan Mitchell is not used to that. He's usually always got his secondary ball handler, and right now he doesn't have that. He's got a shot chucker in DeAndre Hunter, and he's got a big man that it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. The Cavaliers need their shooters back. Sam Merrill's okay. Max Strus, fine. But Darius Garland is going to prove valuable to this team, whether they succeed or fail. It will be because of Darius Garland. And I hate to put that blame on him, but somebody's got to take this blame. And it's not Donovan Mitchell scoring 19 points in the fourth quarter. But Evan Mobley, I need to see more. There's no reason that Evan Mobley is just not touching this ball. Now, on the other side, I want to talk about the Rockets before we move on from this game. The Houston Rockets have looked like a well-oiled machine. They're on a 5-game winning streak right now. It's their second 5-game winning streak of the season. And something that stands out, and I notice it every single time I watch the Houston Rockets, Alperen Sengun's the number one on this team. So do you know how I was just saying that Donovan Mitchell and Evan Mobley are the 1A? They should be the 1A and 1B. The Houston Rockets are about the same way, except they're actually executing that 1A, 1B. Alperen Sengun is the 1A. Kevin Durant's the 1B. If Alperen Sengun can't get it, Durant will get it. If Durant can't get it, Alperen Sengun will get it. That's not how the Cavaliers function. The Cavaliers function as if Donovan Mitchell can't get it, nobody's getting it. So when you look at the Houston Rockets and you see that they're 10-3 and they're on another 5-game winning streak, it's sort of a sight to see because they're doing it in a way that I was told can't work in the NBA anymore. And people were willing to just write it off after the first 2 games of the season. And I would like to just point out, I think the Houston Rockets right now are sort of showing the younger generation that say the lack of offensive big men in the early 2000s and 90s wouldn't be able to compete in today's NBA. And I'd like to disagree. I'd like to fully disagree now. I would like to fully disagree now. Because I think if you have a big man that actually knows how to play basketball, knows where they need to be, knows what they need to do, knows how to play the game of basketball, I think they could survive in today's NBA. And I mean, you're seeing it with Steven Adams right now. It's a thing of beauty. Clint Capella as well. He's getting 14 minutes off the bench. I think the Houston Rockets are incredibly fun to watch. Amen Thompson led the team in with 40 minutes, and he had 12 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals. I mean, this team is filled with demons. It's a really good time to watch them. And to see the dynamic between Alperen Sengun and Kevin Durant, it's beautiful. And I mentioned it in yesterday's podcast, in yesterday's episode. I said, and I quote, the NBA today has sort of turned into a pick your poison type league. You know, you got to leave somebody open. And if you're forced to leave a Durant or Alperen Sengun open because they're doubling in the elbow, that is not where you want to be. Another shout out for the homie Reed Shepherd. Bro, this guy has completely turned it around. Rockets fans wanted to ship him out for a bag of chips. This guy has completely turned it around. I like Reed Shepherd. Yeah, his defense isn't great, but if he's giving you a dozen off the bench every night, you're getting a great production. Now, I still think the Rockets need a point guard. That's not going to change anything. I think they still need a point guard. Mind you, we haven't even seen the Rockets that they're like close to their full strength. They're not going to have Fred VanVleet all year. They still haven't had Dorian Finney-Smith, and Tari Easton's obviously out as well. So like we have not seen this team at full strength, and yet they're doing things that honestly nobody really expected. To be quite honest, nobody really expected this team to be this good so fast. You expected there to be growing pains, and there hasn't really been any just yet. My last note from this game is going just a little bit back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Is when I was watching this game, the Cavaliers literally came back when Donovan Mitchell was out of the game in the second half. When Donovan Mitchell came out, Lonzo Ball was cooking up. Who else was scoring for them? It was Lonzo Ball, Dean Wade, and Craig Porter Jr. They were going crazy. Lonzo, I think, hit back-to-back threes. He was 2 for 8, but he didn't shoot that well. But he had those 2 threes. And then Craig Porter Jr. came in and dropped 9 off the bench as well. Overall, it's a very, very, very it's a scattered team. And when you can't bring your best player into the game and then suddenly that lead, you start having to like fall back on this rope. It doesn't work. DeAndre Hunter had a great first half, and that's as good as a game that you're going to get from DeAndre Hunter. If he's giving you 25 because he was inserted in the starting lineup, we all know he can score. It's just a matter of like if other people can score. And if they're not targeting their Evan Mobley, then you're just wasting that guy on the court. There's no reason for Evan Mobley to be on the court if you're not going to be targeting him. At that point, he's just doing cardio. That's all my notes on that game. I think the next one that I want to move on to is Vucci Main, Vucci baby, stealing that, or I guess securing that win in Portland. Now, he hit a game winner. I think that's his second game-winning 3 of the season, which is just hilarious to me. I low-key want to start. Mind you, if you guys didn't watch this game, Chicago Bulls, I believe, were up 22 points, and they choked away the entire lead and then secured the win barely with that game winner. I low-key want to start with the Portland Trailblazers, though, when I talk about this game. In case you guys don't know, the Portland Trailblazers have lost 6 out of the last 7 games. That's not good. That's not good. And main reason is because they don't have defense. They don't play defense. They don't move the rock around the floor. They take the most field goals on any team, against any team in the league. They're 5th in three-point attempted. My issue with the Portland Trailblazers is their lack of defense. I mean, let's just look at their past few games, and you can see what I'm referring to when I say lack of defense. You're giving up 136 points to the Miami Heat. You're giving up 140 points to the Houston Rockets. You're giving up 138 points to the Dallas Mavericks. You're giving up 130 to the Phoenix Suns. The Portland Trailblazers are just not playing any defense, and they're just relying on their offense. But I'm sorry to break it to you, your offense is not good enough to just purely outscore every opponent that you're up against. Now, Denny Avdia, I mean, this guy, regardless of his political views, he's a good basketball player. I feel like he tries to play hero ball far too often, though. Jeremy Grant, 33 points. He's been normally coming off the bench, but he did start in place of Shaedon Sharpe. And he dumped off 33 points. Jeremy Grant's been their most consistent player other than Denny Avdia. So, I mean, when you look at this team, right? When you look at this team, yes, they're missing Drew Holiday. Yeah, they're missing Damian Lillard and Shaedon Sharpe. That's not even their biggest issue. If you guys want to look at the plus minus and try to figure out what is wrong with the Portland Trailblazers, it's quite obvious. You just need to look at one player and whether he's on the court or not. Drew Holiday, I can't believe I'm saying this in 2025, but Drew Holiday is literally the sole reason why the Portland Trailblazers are even 6-9 to begin with. Now, they'd be winning more of these games with Drew Holiday playing. He was out last night. The main issue, the main issue with this team is that none of them want to play defense. None of them want to play defense. And when you're up against the Chicago Bulls who are just trying to outshoot you, that's not going to work. Especially, I mean, they gave up a 22-point lead and barely won. The Bulls are not a good basketball team. I hate to break it to people who are watching. The Chicago Bulls are not a good basketball team. Kobe White is getting reintegrated. He's getting reintegrated. 25 points in 27 minutes is absolutely incredible. 7 assists is great. When he's starting, you should see the efficiency tick up. Nikola Vucevic had his iconic one game of the week where he drops 27 points on 11 for 19 shooting. Part of the reason being no defense. No defense was being played in this game. Josh Giddey, 9 points, 13 assists. Not a good game. He was 3 for 9. He looked very, very, very slow last night. And Kevin Huerter, I mean, he's just not playing well this season at all. And when you look at the Bulls, I've talked about this a lot, right? And I can always prove my point when I say a team is good or not, right? And when you look at the Chicago Bulls and you look at the recent schedule, If you look at their last, let's do 9 games. They have lost 6 out of their last 9 games. And part of the reason being is because the only reason the Bulls were successful at the start of the year, and I showed this to y'all when they were 5-0, was that their opponent 3-point percentage was the highest in NBA history since the 1980s. There's nothing to debate about the Chicago Bulls TikTok chat. The reason why the Bulls were winning is because in the first 5 games of the season, their opponents were shooting 21% from the 3, meaning that every team was shooting 1 for 5 from deep. That is the worst stretch of 5 games of your opponent's shooting percentage from the 3-point land since the 1980s. Since the 1980s. So you can tell me it's good defense. That's not good defense. That would be historical defense in 5 games, which has never been seen in 45 years. So when you look at the Chicago Bulls and you look at their defense, you can say, man, they got great defense. No, they're at the bottom half of the league of steals and middle of the pack in blocks. And they are also 21st in offensive rebounding. And their opponents are shooting right now league average. So to tell me that they have historical defense is just absolutely blasphemous. The Chicago Bulls sealed this win, and I think it was a real statement win because what you saw in Kobe White showed you sort of like the team's aspirations and what they plan on doing this year again. I feel bad for 2 franchises in the NBA. Just 2. The Chicago Bulls and the Chicago Bulls of the West, the Sacramento Kings. I feel bad for their fan bases because they don't know what it's like to actually try to become a good basketball team. They just want to be league average at everything. They want to sell tickets. It's so sad to see because the Chicago Bulls logo, like that is literally the most famous logo in almost like in the entire world as far as sports go, right? Everybody knows the Bull. You know, they have the history of Michael Jordan, right? And they've had nothing but failures since then. You can include Derrick Rose as well. He ran into LeBron James and couldn't beat him a single time. The Chicago Bulls have been stuck in mediocrity my entire life, actually. I was born in 1998. That was Michael Jordan's last year. I was born in Michael Jordan's last championship of his 6, right? So for my entire life, the Chicago Bulls have been mediocre and bad. What I will say is I am happy that the Bulls fans can witness competent basketball. This has been the most competent they've been in a couple years, and they're still a play-in team. When you look at the standings right now, you can somewhat like convince yourself that they'll make the play-in, right? They're going to be in the play-in. We all know the Chicago Bulls are going to be in the play-in. That's not going to change. We all know. So when you look at that team and you think, I wonder how high they could be. No, you're seeing how high they can be. They're not going to move up from being the 7th seed. That is their ceiling. And I know it sounds like I'm hating on the Chicago Bulls, and I promise I'm not. This is just the unfortunate hand that they were dealt. They want mediocrity. They just want to sell tickets, and they know they'll sell tickets if they just make the play in and look competitive. How many years do we need to do this? I'm not speaking out my arse. How many years are we going to keep fake convincing ourselves off of Bulls' hot starts into the league? Their defense is much improved from last year. Their offensive game, I feel like, needs to run a little bit more through Matas Buzelis. I really hate... the hate is a strong word. I dislike Billy Donovan as a head coach. And I think if you're a Chicago Bulls fans, you don't like Billy Donovan either. He doesn't trust your young guys. He doesn't set plays up for Matas Buzelis. I'm personally not a fan. And yet they'll never fire him. I believe off the dome, I think Billy Donovan is the 2nd longest tenured coach in the NBA right now. Maybe 3rd? Maybe 3rd? I think it's Eric Spoelstra, Steve Kerr, and Billy Donovan. What has Billy Donovan done to secure his job here? If you can give me a truthful answer to that, I would be amazed. I would actually be amazed. I love doing these episodes live because I love seeing the wild opinions that TikTok and like, Twitch and YouTube says. Somebody in the TikTok right now is telling me that the Chicago Bulls, because the East is wide open, they could be top 5 in the East, and he said, "Trust me." Okay, let's look. So the Pistons are 13-2 right now in the East. Listen, I'm a Pistons fan, and I think we'll probably finish in the top 3. The Toronto Raptors have just blown my expectations out of the water, especially after their horrible start, right? They're 10-5. The Knicks move on to 9-5 after last night's win. The Cavs are 10-6. Okay, so now we're looking at number 5 being the Atlanta Hawks, 9-6. I think we can all expect them to drop a little bit. I think it's going to be in this order as far as the 4th, and we'll go down to the 10th. Right? So I think the Pistons or Raptors will be 4th. Right? Maybe the Pistons will keep it up. Yeah, no, there's no way I see the Bulls securing a playoff spot. There's just no way. I still have the Magic over the Bulls. Quite frankly, I still have the 76ers over the Bulls. Which means they're a playing team at heart. I still have Giannis over the Bulls. And they're 8-7. I mean, when you look at this right here, the Bulls are only half a game from missing the play-in right now. They're half a game from just missing the play-in entirely. So I mean, when you look at that, I just don't see it. I don't see it. The Chicago Bulls don't have the firepower. And okay, I do want to say this for my last and final note for the Chicago Bulls. I'm sorry, but why do you want to make the playoffs? Why is there any, like, you have no business wanting to make the playoffs? I just don't understand what the reasoning that the Bulls want to make the playoffs for. You guys don't want picks. You guys don't want to improve. You have to get bad before getting good in this NBA, right? We've seen it over and over and over and over again. The Bulls need to rebound more. They need another big. If anybody wants Anthony Davis to join Chicago, you are sorely mistaken. I don't know why you would trade your every asset to your team for a glass cannon. The Bulls and Bulls fans, I'll tell you this much. If I were a Bulls fan, I would want them to miss the playoffs entirely. Forget the play-in. Forget the playoffs. I would personally want them to miss entirely. But this is the ownership that you guys were dealt. Of course, they won't commit to a rebuild. We all know this. The Chicago Bulls will never commit to a rebuild. And that's the unfortunate circumstance that Chicago Bulls fans have to endure. I'm sorry. You guys are going to continue riding in mediocrity for probably my entire life. And it sucks. It really sucks. Billy Donovan doesn't trust his young guys. And for some reason, the owner trusts Billy Donovan to be their head coach. There's no reason Billy Donovan should be a top 3 tenured coach in the NBA. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything to deserve that. So I would like to formally apologize again to the Chicago Bulls for their incompetent franchise, but they got the win. They did get the win. And you can't take that away from them at all. My final note on this is just a comment that just made me giggle. This guy, Matt, who said that they're going to be a minimum 5th seed, the Bulls, he said, we're probably trading Vooch midseason for younger pieces. You guys have been saying that for 3 years now. Let's move on. It's not going to happen. Sorry to break it to you. Okay, let's move on to a late game whistle. Getting the Knicks to survive against Dallas. Now, you never want to hear that in a sentence. Survive against Dallas, especially with how bad Dallas is. But the New York Knicks are sort of struggling right now. And they were without, I believe, OG Anunoby. Yeah, they were without OG Anunoby. Jalen Brunson returned, and the Knicks barely inked out this win. This was a real back and forth game. There were a bunch of lead changes, bunch of ties. This is a very competitive game against a team that was missing their rookie in Cooper Flag. They're also missing Anthony Davis. That's why nobody should trade for Anthony Davis. They're also missing Kyrie Irving, of course. They're missing Dante Exum. They're missing Dwight Powell. So this team is beat up. We all know the Dallas Mavericks, right? You guys don't need to You guys don't need an explanation about the Dallas Mavericks. We're all very understanding of what they got going on. So in case you guys didn't watch this game, Mikal Bridges had a big three. Landry Shamet was balling in the fourth quarter. I believe he hit both his threes in the fourth. Who would have thought that OG Anunoby getting hurt would somehow develop Landry Shamet into a demon? In case you guys missed what happened at the end of this one, Brandon Williams for the Dallas Mavericks had the ball, and he drove into the hoop, and he got called for an offensive foul, which then lost them the game. It was the game-winning shot, and that lost them the game. He basically wrapped, he put his left arm, right? He put the left arm onto the defender, and they called an offensive foul, and that lost them the game. Now, me personally, I don't believe in calling an offensive foul on the game-winning layup, but if the refs, I mean, it's truly amazing. Because that had, I don't know. I'm like at a loss of words right now, because had that happened to the Pistons, I would be extremely upset. It happening to the Dallas Mavericks shouldn't really make anybody upset. It's the Dallas Mavericks. They should lose, right? So he obviously initiated the contact, and yet he got called for the foul. But from what I see in the NBA, if you get in the way of somebody's axis when they're running, that's typically a defensive foul. So I'm not quite sure how that call is being called there. Now, I'd like to give shout outs to Najee Marshall and D'Angelo Russell. D'Angelo Russell finally had a good game, and Najee Marshall 23 points, showing why they got him in the first place. Yeah, man. Let's talk about the Knicks side. The Knicks, you already know. Jalen Brunson led them with 28 points, 11 for 23 from the field. And Mikal Bridges had a huge shot at the end. I don't like games like this where Karl-Anthony Towns is like a third option. Yes, he had the second most points, but they were not going to Karl-Anthony Towns in the fourth quarter. Anybody else? If you're watching this game, then you understand what I'm talking about. They were not going to Karl-Anthony Towns. It was just Jalen Brunson save us as always. And I feel like that being the game plan for this team, missing OG Anunoby as well, I'm not in love with that team moving forward if that is going to continue being their only game plan. Jalen Brunson, take the ball, move on, keep us in the game. I'm not a fan of that. The Knicks did ink out this win. It was overall, like I said, it was just hand in hand. They kept going back and forth throughout this entire one. But the Knicks sealed it. Well, I guess technically the Dallas Mavericks sealed their fate by having that offensive foul. That's ridiculous. I don't agree with an offensive foul there, like whatsoever, at all. I don't agree at all. I don't really have much notes about this game. I got to keep it a stack 50 with y'all. It was sort of, I was not entertained until the final frame of this game. So I think that's probably going to be it. The NBA games last night were not great. They were not great at all. The fact of the most entertaining game being the Bulls and Trailblazers speaks volumes. And that was way too late. I had to catch the end of that this morning. Now, those are the games that we broke down. That's going to be it for the games that we broke down from last night. I would like to talk about something that I didn't talk about yesterday that I probably should have, but since yesterday's podcast was so long, I just had to move on and save it for today. In case you have not heard, Cade Parker Cunningham has signed a signature signed with Nike, being one of 5 active players to sign with Nike and get their own signature shoe. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, Giannis Antetokounmpo, John Morant, I know they regret that, Devin Booker, and Cade Cunningham, who just joined. Right. Cade Parker Cunningham, my sweet prince. I am not only going to be rocking these on the court, I will be rocking them off the court. I will be wearing them in bed. I will be wearing them in my office. I'll be wearing them to church. If I go to church, I'll be wearing them to my wedding. Cade Parker Cunningham, my sweet prince, signing a 6-year endorsement deal and being one of only 6 players to get a contract and a signature shoe with Nike. I will say, as much as the NBA regrets Nike regrets giving Ja Morant his deal. Those shoes are fire. Those shoes are fire. Even though Ja Morant sucks, the shoes are fire. But that's okay. That happens. I remember Carmelo's shoes, right? Those shoes were cool. But yeah, anyways. Cade Parker Cunningham doing it up, doing it right. And we're going to move on. I saw this post from Gilbert Arenas because people care about what Gilbert Arenas has to say in the year of 2025. A guy that got banned from the NBA for bringing a pew-pew into a locker room because people give a shit about what he has to say. Gilbert Arenas said, Nike knows what they're doing. They don't plan on having Cade Cunningham in Detroit for much longer. He said they're investing in Cade because he's not going to be in Detroit for much longer. That's what he said. Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas said that. When Giannis Antetokounmpo has stayed in Milwaukee for his entire career, right? Ja Morant has still been in Memphis, even though he doesn't want to. Devin Booker is still in Phoenix. So somebody like Gilbert Arenas, on his opinion, should not mean anything to sports fans. So I'd like to say any fan of Cade, any fan of the Pistons, any fan of basketball in general, to say that Cade Parker Cunningham does not want to stay in Detroit is absolutely blasphemy. You're talking about the man who went on a 28-game losing streak, the longest losing streak in NBA history, and didn't complain a single time. Didn't force a trade, didn't complain about anything. And now all he does is bleed blue and red and boast the Pistons and talk about the Pistons. So for Gilbert Arenas to say an outlandish take like that Nike only invested in him because they plan on him no longer being in Detroit anymore, is just comedy. That's absolutely hilarious. Cade joins only one of 5 players in the NBA to get his own signature shoe. So yeah, that's what happened. That is what happened. Didn't Gilbert Arenas just get arrested for something like a couple weeks ago? I don't know why. I mean, they just give mics to anybody, as somebody's talking into a mic right now. They're just giving those mics to anybody. Guys, that unfortunately is going to be the episode today. There's honestly not much to talk about. The games last night were not that fun. They weren't that enjoyable. But, you know, Vucci Baby hit that game winner. That was entertaining, even though I didn't get to catch it live. I did watch the condensed version this morning. That's going to do it for today's episode. Tomorrow should be longer, pending the NBA games and how they go today. I see some people in both the chats and the YouTube and TikTok asking questions about certain teams. If you guys want to tune in 9 a.m. Eastern, that's when we start all of these episodes. So be sure to tune in 9 a.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. The stream will be continuing on Twitch. Podcast listeners, be sure to leave the 5-star reviews and ratings. TikTok, drop a like, follow. YouTube, drop a like and subscribe. We are still live on Twitch for a little bit longer if you guys have anything else that you'd like to say. The Twitch is JZ Uncut. The link is in the bio of any platform that you are watching. Guys, that's going to do it for today's episode. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. And as always, y'all, thank you for watching/listening. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern.